Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and iTWireTV interview. Today I'm joined by Len Findlay. He's the CEO and founder of Saltwater Games. And Len, with your more than a quarter century's impressive and comprehensive experience in a range of businesses globally, including advisory and philanthropic roles across several up-to-the-minute cutting-edge technology verticals, and your LinkedIn profile stating that you talk about hashtags NFT, Web3, EVTOL, gaming, and innovation. It's a real pleasure to speak with you today. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much, Alex. Fantastic to be here, and a great opportunity for us to almost come out of our little stealth blanket and talk about what we've been up to a little bit more, although we're starting to eke the story out as we go, but we've been working on it for quite some time. So, but I like the quarter of a century, 25 years. Yeah, I've been building tech companies for 25, and I think I've been saying 25 for a few years. So I am definitely an old man in a youthful game. So.
Well, again, thank you for taking the time. It's definitely appreciated. Now, Saltwater Games, on your website, you describe yourself as the future of Web3 mixed reality gaming. So let's start there. Tell us what Web3 is and tell us about all the cool things that you as Saltwater Games can do with this new tech.
Okay, perfect. So what I might do on this one, Alex, if that's cool, I'm just going to read something out from a chap. It's a very short statement. But it's something that's very specific. It was said by Chris Dixon, a partner of the venture capital firm A16Z. And it's really simple. Web3 is the internet owned by the builders and the users, orchestrated with tokens. That's it. So in its simplicity, that's what it is. There are very few businesses in the world that can actually say that they are a true Web3 business. So most businesses fit within the Web 2.5 or another term, Web 5, 2+3, as well, that you sort of start to see out there as well. But there's very few that are actually truly Web3 and fully decentralized. So probably the biggest decentralized architecture, or the biggest DAO structure as well, is Bitcoin.
So what does Web3 allow Saltwater Games to do that you couldn't before? What are the cool things that it enables consumers and businesses to achieve?
So I think we probably need to talk a little bit then what Saltwater Games is. So Saltwater Games is it's a game studio. So what our job in this world is to create AAA engagement platforms, which is through a racing game, the first one. So where we take the real world electric racing, and there's a reason for all of this, and then we link it through an experience to the gamer, and then we take the effort of that gamer, and then we invest their effort or the financial aspects of this world into real world impact projects that then generate a yield that we can then balance back as part of a game reward. That structure is allowed because of Web3. So the Web3 is actually an underpinning foundational aspect of how we make that work, because there's certain aspects of the business which are completely decentralized. And that decentralization is the Web3 aspects of the business. But if you look at Saltwater Games, we're probably Web3 is the gaming platform, but as a business, we're probably Web 2.5, somewhere in the middle of both worlds, the real and the digital. And that's why we have this mixed reality layer across every aspect of our business, not just from how we deliver the technology engagement and the technology experience, but actually the entire business model.
So tell us about the actual game you're creating. I mean, it's going to be like a game you would get from a console on a PlayStation or on a AAA game on your mobile phone. But what sort of game is it, and what's the platform that it's built on? Tell us about that.
Well, so we find ourselves at a junction where the technology advancements that have happened in game engines and game platforms it's unparalleled.
Yeah.
So Unreal Engine 5 is a phenomenal environment. It's almost real life experience to a certain extent. If you think about how they've actually made natural light and the frames of that light and how it interacts with the objects in that world and how they bring it to life, it's phenomenal what they've done with Unreal 5. So first off, Unreal 5. So that's what it's going to be built on. That basically means that it's portable across everything from PC to console. It also means it can be streamed into the hands of a gamer as well. So in different technology aspects too. So what you find from us is we've actually got a dual product strategy. We have a AAA game experience, which is our free to play, come in and just enjoy the thrill and the excitement and the competition and the risk and the reward of racing. So that's one big aspect. But How do we build on the narrative? How do we build on the engagement piece? How do we drop this thing into people's homes and into their world? There's a mobile aspect to this, which is an engagement play to begin with that then gets evolved into companion and even mobile racing. So that's how we're bringing it together. And the technologies that we're building for the PC will scale accordingly across the two platforms.
Now, you've already announced that Celeros, the first game that you're building, the platform, Celeros platform, is already in an invitation-only beta, and it will be a public beta by middle of 2023. So when do you think it will actually launch as a public game?
So the best place to find this out, by the way, is absolutely 100% our Discord channel and the roadmap on our website, which is being updated all the time. The reason I'm saying this is because the technology and advancements that are happening across all of our partners, it's accelerating. So it means that there's certain things that we're going to be able to bring forward. So some things we might delay a little bit. So things like synchronous play at some point. But when it comes to engagement and augmented reality experiences and some mobile experiences, plus maybe even a vertical slice of the world, all of these things are going to move at a much faster pace. So that's why the website is the best place to get this, and Discord even more so. And actually, our Discord channel is now starting to grow quite quickly. I think in the last 24, 48 hours, it went from, as we started to launch a little bit about what we're doing, even with some from very, very basic marketing, just announcements. We went from 130 to 1,342 in a very, very short amount of time. So, and we're sort of holding back a little bit on some of that as well, because we want to engage the community. We want to keep them engaged, and we want to give them things as we scale our business as well. So we want it almost to be a nice organic and controlled sort of growth of community. So, but straight away, we're already getting a great response, and we actually now need to go and deliver for those guys. And we're going to be delivering lots of little moving parts of our world into that community over the next sort of 1, 2, 3 months.
Sure. And so it's saltwatergames.com. So do people just look for Saltwater Games on Discord to join, or?
Yeah. So Discord is actually the links on our website. So okay. If you just go on saltwatergames.com, the link is there. So in fact, and the Twitter link is there as well, but both of them work. And there's an Instagram page as well if anyone wants some. If you want to see some of the graphical content that's coming through, even in the short term, then that's where that is. We actually have a show reel that's going to be getting launched on the 12th as well. So that's going to be the first chance to see more on actually the gameplay and what this is going to look like.
Excellent. Yeah, because you've had snippets on Twitter and there's been little snippets here and there, but to actually see some gameplay is going to be fantastic. Now, also, being a Web3 construct, and with the tokens and NFTs and all the rest, you obviously have a play to earn aspect, which is now entrenched into gaming, but you also have something called play to impact. So what is that, and what inspired you to deliver this into the Celeros platform?
I'm just going to go back a step on this one as well, and this is really important. So we do not have a saltwater coin. There is no token. There is no currency that is not connected to a fiat-backed currency in our world. So, and this is the benefit of having a metaverse meets racing environment. So our racing economy has been built up over decades, if not centuries, to a certain extent, but decades probably where you've seen the most advancements in the real world already. That framework includes things like sponsors and advertising and teams and broadcast and all the wonderful things that have evolved through motorsport and esports in general. So that means that we can create a balanced economy based on stable coins and stable tokens. So we don't have to introduce the complexity then of a new digital currency that then has to have its own liquidity, and it has to have its own backing and its own economic almost team and overloads. So because that's one of the challenges we've sort of seen with other Web3 games anyway. So that's not to say that those it's not possible. It's just we don't need to with metaverse and racing. But that basically means that then when we talk about tokens, we're talking about them as NFTs, but actually they're just digital assets. Some aspects are just going to be digital assets that sit on a ledger that are free, and you're going to be able to wander around and grab these things and build things that then become immutable, things that become tradable and sellable. At that point, you would class it as a non-fungible token, but in our world, it's a tradable digital asset. So that's the first aspect of all of this.
Yeah.
Now, any circular economy, so when you have metaverse meets racing, and you have people who are either paying to play, but also play to earn, and um, playing to win. So as well. So and these are all competitive states within our world, and there are multiple in this, by the way. What we find is there's an inflow of cash that needs to be balanced against an outflow of cash. So the benefit of a metaverse and a motorsport economy is those inflows are not just bound to the gamer and the gamer spending money to fill the economy. So if that makes sense. So that means there's a pile of cash that comes in through all these different revenue streams. What we do with it then to balance the outflow is we then invest it in impact projects, yield generating projects, environmental, sustainability, social impact projects, things that are actually helping to advance our world. I'm a human first, and I'm a pro-human just in general around the world. I love our environment, and I love everything about it. So one of the things I wanted to do was create an impact economy. So where we wrap it with an engagement, which is the game. So something that brings people in that we can then deliver something exceptional back to, but then we use that time and then we invest it to create the gamer reward. So as they're then taking the money out of the system, it's actually being funded by fantastic projects that are benefiting humanity. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there are prizes that people can win if they're playing to win. Some of that money going out in prizes, but playing to impact means you can affect actual real world projects. So are there any real world projects that you have in mind that you're going to be supporting through the project?
Oh, there are many. There are many. So this is not something that's new to me either, or the team. This is something we do personally. So when I've been doing this, my background has been building tech companies for 25 plus years, as you know. Also investing in technology platforms and other companies on the way through. But I've also then ran my own sort of mini fund. Saltwater Games I think we're going to have a chat about it as we go further down anyway. Before that, there was Saltwater Ventures, which was my personal venture arm. So I was utilizing that to then invest in everything from cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, but also energy projects. So things like biofuel projects in the likes of sub-Saharan Africa, where you're using arid land, so non-agri land. You're almost, and I hate this word because I don't know if it's a word, but greenifying the desert. By using a biofuel seed, which is called jatropha, which is basically grows in these arid environments. What happens there is you end up then building community support because you end up building housing, infrastructure, sanitary support. Plus, you can drop internet into these remote communities as well, and then you can drop education in at the same time. And you've got a profitable asset at the end that is sellable on a harvest. 1 to 2 to maybe 4 times a year, depending on the season and depending on the location. So, and these things are, thousands of hectares of these biofuel seeds, and they're actually doing carbon reduction as well, because now you're greenifying an area that would not naturally have been green before. So then you're almost creating as well a moisture effect out there. So lots of projects like that. That's not to say that that's the only one. There's also some very large-scale solar projects. There's some marine habitat projects. There's some carbon offset as well. So there's lots of different projects that we are going to be directing this treasury into. But we're not going to do it on our own. This is not just down to us. There needs to be a community voice in this as well. And that's one of the other reasons why the community will get an insight into this within the game. But also we're going to use an external fund manager that's regulated as well. So one of the things that we want to make sure, and especially based on things like FTX, even more so, is that we are radically transparent across every aspect of our business, and to a certain point where we even offload anything that can be seen as risk within our business to absolute experts. So we've got third-party review on everything.
Well, this sounds like effective altruism done right. I mean, is that what inspired you to do this? I've only heard of the term effective altruism since the FTX crash. I mean, it's a sort of an idea that people have been doing for a long time by donating to charity. And so the idea itself is not new. But what was it what was the sort of the catalyst to make you think, yes, we're going to introduce play to impact in our platform and in our games?
Well, it was the why right from the beginning. So it wasn't something that happened afterwards. It was the whole reason for doing. If By the way, and I'm on the board of Airspeeder. I've been on the board and a seed investor in that company from very, very super early, very, very early, all the way back to when they crashed a three-quarter size one at Goodwood. So I've been an investor in that company all the way back from then. So, and it's an Australian business, as you know, out of South Australia. Those guys have been on a journey and a half, and they've had now 2 successful races now out of there, which have been broadcast as well. So it's kind of phenomenal little journey those guys have been on. But we could have just gone anywhere. We could have gone to any game studio and said, we want to build an airspeeder race game, go do it. And I just sort of sat there with Matt, who's the founder, and I said, I think there's another way. I think there's a better way where we can take the inspiration and innovation of airspeeder and we can do something better with it. So, and this is where we sort of looked at the opportunity to almost educate the world in this game. So I'll give you an example of this. There are many, many games out there in Web3 that have shown and proven that there's an economic model for a reward and rewarding the gamer. Axie Infinity was one of the first big ones to do this and did an amazing job of growing their user base to, I think, nearly 3 million, and proved that actually they had a social impact because the gamers in the Philippines were actually feeding their families and they were having success in it. Challenges there around things like a game token, and it's actually a dual currency world. So there was some challenges in there, and we sort of saw the spike and then the drop. So, and it's a shame that happened for that particular game mode, but it still continues. So, but one of the challenges I saw, it was not linked to anything in reality. So, whereas you've got this racing world that exists already, the economy of it exists. The physical aspects of it already exist as well. So I sort of saw an opportunity to inspire even through education. So even while the gamer is, as they're increasing the levels, and I don't know whether you can actually share this, but I'll let you know what it is because we might be eking this out over time. But the gamer specifically, if they're rising up through the levels, they've got to learn how are batteries affected by weather. What size props would you put on depending on the circuitry and the weather systems or the airflow over the landscape? These are all things that you will have to learn to be very, very good and master this racing world. And that's just a subset of it. Yeah, that means that you're actually getting something that crosses over into the real world to a certain extent. I'm not saying you're going to get a university degree, but hopefully it gives you the inspiration to want to learn more and lean into these engineering aspects that we're trying to solve for in the real world. So that's one aspect. And of course, we want to train the future pilots. So we want the best pilots in this world to have an opportunity to cut across and learn the sim, which is the real pilots. And the likes of Bruno Senna is one of the pilots. He's Ayrton Senna's nephew. Yeah. So phenomenal cat. I'm actually catching up with him in Monaco in a few days. So and he's one of our advisors as well. He's involved with Saltwater Games too. But he's one of the pilots that has to go through several hundreds of hours of training on a sim to then get certified, to then be able to go and remote pilot the physical version, to then go on the training program to be able to get in one.
Yeah.
So there is a stage process for this. So one of the things that we've sort of agreed within our agreement with Airspeeder specifically is to have that crossover connection from the top pilots in our game world coming across into the real world and having a stage progression if they want. They don't have to. Yeah. There are many rewards that will happen inside Celeros as well for those gamers, but it would be cool, very cool, if there was a desire to want to step over and become a pilot in the real world. In fact, there'd be nothing cooler. I want to do it. So.
I have heard of people who've been able to pilot real planes because they were very good at Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that certainly has happened before, but this is an actual real world game. But just for those who are not aware, I mean, airspeeders are flying race cars. Flying cars do actually exist. And I mean, what you're doing is quite amazing. I wrote about the AirspeederXR gaming platform that you are building on top of Celeros in an article that I had called AirspeederXR Flying Cars Aren't Just Real, They're Already Racing, and soon there'll be a virtual vroom stick that anyone can ride. So I was wondering, did you build Celeros because you were an early investor in Airspeeder and not really knowing, or maybe in the back of your head thinking, well, that maybe one day this Celeros platform that I'm building can actually host a virtual version of the Airspeeder experience, shaped by thousands of hours of real world data from actual races that the Airspeeder people have now run.
Well, let me go back a step. And when we first came up with this concept, it was November last year. So it was a long time ago, and it was just me and a couple of guys, not the team that you see today, which is taking what was essentially a rudimentary, simple, here's some flying cars, and here's some social, environmental, and sustainability good that we want to do, and there's a way of doing this. Where that's evolved to through the quality of the team, and you're probably going to hear about the team anyway, Dave Pleshek and Chris Abbott and Ian, and there's a whole team behind this that's actually taken that rudimentary, simplistic model and actually built it into something which is now Plato Impact, and the ability to take it way beyond just Airspeeder. So the reason that it started off with Airspeeder was because of this relationship. But what's happened is we've now wrapped it with Celeros. Celeros is going to be capable of taking other race series. So it will not just be limited to air. So there will be lots of different things happening within as well. That basically means that what we've done is we've actually built out then a platform, a sustainable platform, which includes community and technology and gaming and finance as repeatable aspects of this business. So that way we can take it to other race series as well and bring them in, as long as they fit the thesis of there's a real world aspect to it, there's a potential to cross over, there's a potential for education and growth, and there's a potential for rewards through either competition, inspiration, or community engagement. So that's how we sort of evolved it way beyond just that initial conversation between myself and Matt.
Well, it does sound like it's going to be an epically amazing, emotionally impactful, and electronically electrifying experience when you can play both Celeros and the separate Airspeeder game. And for Top Gun AirspeederXR pilots to be able to, if they wish to, apply to become real-world Airspeeder pilots is a pretty amazing reward.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I invested in the company because I want to fly one of these things. It turns out there's about 300 Top Gun pilots in front of me, so I didn't quite qualify.
So when do you think AirspeederXR will launch into an invitation-only beta and then go into a public beta? I suppose it's, I don't know, it's at least 6 to 9 to 12 months away, or?
Yeah, so I think we're going to have this is the bit that's evolving all the time. So one of the things that you'll see is we've actually engaged an organization called Lucid Games out of Liverpool in the UK. Mm-hmm. They are motorsport racing game royalty. So they've been involved and built games like Grand Theft Auto, Need for Speed, Destruction All Stars, and I think a couple of the guys did Wipeout, which is one of my favorites from when I was a kid. So Wipeout, so that means that they've got the skills and a physics engine that we can evolve. And it also has to be tuned. All of that comes together to actually bring an experience timeline much, much faster. But I don't want to commit to a specific date.
Sure.
But I'd probably say that we might have something in the hands of people in some format. It'd be safe to say within 12 months.
Yeah.
Something that would be experiential. But the mobile will move a lot faster. So, and as we already discussed earlier, I'm an Android guy, so you can see which way that's going. So it'll cover iOS as well. So
yeah, no worries, absolutely. Now you have over 25 years of experience, extensive business experience, but you're effectively creating a startup that I guess has been in business for a couple of years now, and from everything I've seen so far, it looks to be going extremely well. You're about to launch a whole stack of extra, info that people can see and see that it's real. And, you're going around talking to investors and gamers. But what have the challenges been and the lessons learned that you can share to, inspire and warn others who wish to follow in your entrepreneurial footsteps?
Well, so one, I've been building companies for a long time. So now I think you need therapy for it. So I think it's called a startup junkie. So anyway, but I was semi-retired. I'd hit the number that I wanted to hit. I was happy. So that was step one. I was investing in companies, advising them, and that's what I was doing. So as well. So I decided, and I sold the last one to Telstra actually in Australia at the end of 2017. So that was a journey and a half from starting that in 2010. That's a phenomenal, and phenomenal for Telstra to actually take that team on and then grow that business as well. So, which was a great outcome for everyone. Um, but I wasn't going to start another one. So, but it turns out, and I say this to anyone who's getting into business and anyone who's starting up, the fire is addictive. So, and being in the fire is addictive, and having something that helps grow your brain is addictive. And if you can point it at something better, that can have some sort of long-lasting legacy of impact and sustainability, way beyond your own business life cycle or life, then do it. So the reason I decided to start this business and pull this team together to go and do this is because, one, I've got the freedom of the world to travel wherever I need to be to go and either see investors and bring game partners as well as technology partners and finance partners to the party. I also got the ability to then spend time and go and find the projects and spend time with the communities, to go and make sure that these projects are, one, that they're good projects. So the last thing you want to do is get involved with the project that has any sort of social negative impact, or environmental negative impact. So that's the other thing, is we can actually spend time and go and check it all. So, and third one, not driven by money.
Yeah.
So everything that we're doing here within this business is being driven by impact first. But that means to create the impact that we want to have, we have to have a AAA game experience. We have to have something that the community loves first. So that way we end up having the biggest impact anyway, just as an outcome of creating this AAA experience. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, having a cushion of finance to help you not have to worry about endlessly, raising funds just to survive, and focusing on the game itself and creating a AAA game. I mean, having the game as the main focus and sort of having the cushion to be able to kick that off is a great thing. And obviously you're working with top team and top partners around the world. I mean, how big is the team now, and where are your headquarters and offices located?
Well, we're growing at the minute, so we're about 14 now. So we are growing. That's in the core team. But when you take in the partners and the game studios and the other companies that are involved, just within the gaming aspect alone, it's over 100. And that doesn't include mobile. There's a lot of moving parts in this business. So, by the way, the companies I've started before were systems integration businesses. So they basically, these are businesses that take lots of moving parts and bolt them together to create solution outcomes for customers. So that's generally what those businesses do. And it probably sounds a bit familiar, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking lots of moving parts, bolting them together to deliver an outcome that's got a better, more positive impact for the world, and the gamer. That means that we've got a couple of economic areas. So basically it's UK, Dubai, and Australia. Those are our three core areas, and there are reasons for all three of them. But that's how we're building it out. And that's because gaming studios happen to be in the UK, all the best ones that do motorsport specifically. I don't know why, by the way. I don't know why that there's a layer between Liverpool and Sheffield and Leeds. And that's where some of the biggest...
That's where they feel the need for speed, clearly.
It is. Yeah, a nice pun. I like that. Nice.
So, what else should we know about Saltwater Games that we haven't already discussed?
Oh, I mean, the biggest thing here is, and I sort of say this to investors as well, but this is also out to the game as well. If you help us, if you help us to help them, and when I say them, I mean the gamer and the communities and everything around the game, then in turn they will all help all of us. So because the more gamers we have in this world, the more impact we can have, the more community voice we can listen to, we can evolve our impact projects. Everything gets a very, very higher level of quality across every aspect of our business. So that's why one of the reasons that I'm actually traveling the world is we're even picking investors now. So in different regions that can help drive the right connectivity into those networks and into those environments. So it's not just a cash grab. So from anywhere, it's actually very specific who we're bringing in.
Yeah, you are choosing who you want to work with, not just grabbing the investor cash because you need it.
Correct. Yeah. For a great project, money is not difficult to get. Quality people that understand what you're trying to achieve and are also behind that as well and want to do the same thing and want this to exist. That's what we're trying to find.
So a couple of questions about the future. First one is, how do you see saltwater games evolving over the next couple of years, which is usually a time frame you sort of have some control over, as opposed to my next question about a decade's time in the metaverse?
Yeah, so saltwater games, I mean, we've got our four pillars. What I think you're going to see for us over the next 2, 3 to 5 years is a maturation across all of it. That's the community aspect, our technology stack, and I can't wait to share some of the stuff we've been working on that, by the way. I literally cannot wait. Some of this, I get to, one of the other reasons why I try to put this team together is so I get early access to cool stuff, because I am an absolute gaming nerd at the core of me. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm a technology guy at the core of me as well. And I love any of these new things. I'm actually going to CES in January as well. So if anyone does watch this and they want to reach out, I'll be in Vegas. I'll be the nerdy guy trying on everything to do with augmented reality. So, but anyway, if you see that. But the community aspect, the technology aspect, I think our gaming aspect is going to evolve because of the technology we're going to be bringing into that game experience, and augmented reality will be one of those. And our finance, our desire is to build out our finance and treasury function to such a point where it's radically transparent that it could be regulated.
Yeah.
So it should be a cool outcome. So that's what I see for us.
Well, you mentioned augmented reality, and my next question that I ask everyone that I speak about is, what do you think the industry will look like in 10 years when the metaverse should be much more sophisticated and mature? Extended reality glasses should be as commonplace as smartphones and tablets and websites and apps are today. And do you think that the virtual augmented extended reality experience will be like what we see in the Amazon TV show The Peripheral, which is based on William Gibson's nearly decade-old book called The Peripheral, of the same name as the TV show, because it's the same story. I mean, do you think we will be at that point? And when do you think, is 10 years too far away, too soon? And then if you talk about, smell-o-vision, where you can really experience what it is you're seeing, which we still don't have to this very day, despite some attempts with scent discs I remember reading about some time ago. And then also the concept of actually dying in a game and then dying in real life. I mean, that's been something that's been a part of metaverse folklore, in science fiction for some time. And Palmer Luckey, who I've had the good chance and fortune of interviewing, like I'm interviewing yourself right now. I mean, he recently just came out with a blog post saying that he developed a prototype device that could do just that. I mean, obviously, he just had a headset that had, in theory, explosives that would kill you. The part that he hadn't figured out yet was how to link it to a virtual reality experience where if you died, you would die too. Nobody really wants to do that. We all love the save games. But, what do you think the metaverse will be like in 10 years when all these experiments with MetaQuest Pros and all this really primitive stuff, compared to what we've seen from science fiction, should be, well, a lot more advanced than it is today? What are your thoughts on that? Because that's the sort of, you're building games for that environment, but sort of now.
Yeah.
You'll be ready for when the metaverse is here.
Well, let's break this one up into some sections. One, I don't want anyone to die if they crash their airspeeder.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now my creative director might have different plans. Just saying.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think we want that as an outcome. So, but yeah, I understand that science fiction always takes the worst aspects as well, and that's how you build a movie and a storyline around it. I love that. Westworld is phenomenal for what that future look like.
Yeah.
But this is a difficult one because this is crystal ball time. Because if I go back in time, not that long ago, we were supposed to have flying cars now. In fact, probably a few years ago. In fact, Dubai, I think, was testing flying air taxis not that long ago.
Yeah.
So
big drones.
I don't see them in the sky right now, by the way. So there's a reality check in some of this as well when it comes to how do you bring these things through, and there has to be a certain level of patience. That said, I can see augmented reality becoming the driving factor in a lot of what we're going to experience in the world. Because I think the thing that we're learning more and more is we need human connection. We need real world connection, and we need a digital overlay around it as well, potentially, so we get better information at a certain point in time, or we can bring aspects of the real world even more to life with the digital overlay as well. So rather than a separation from reality into just the virtual. So so I think we're going to see, and I think CES, you might get a view on it anyway from CES, but I think you're going to see a lot of AR tech and bringing things out to the naked eye, rather than taking the naked eye and putting it into this digital world or full immersion world. So that's what I think we're going to see, and I can see that from the partnerships and the technology partners that we're working with as well, and I can see that evolution and where it's going. So so I think we're going to see that first, which I'm glad about, because I do live in the real world. As I sort of said, I'm a human first. But where's it going to go? I mean, obviously, Neuralink, bio implants. Where's, what do you need? Do you need goggles at that point?
Yeah, it'll just straight into your brain like the Matrix.
Exactly. See,
Yeah.
so know how that ends.
So with all this technology in your life, I mean, I always like to ask the people I'm interviewing, can you please share a memory of your first computer? Where did it all start for you?
Oh, well, so this is, I don't know, and I had to go back a while on this as well, but I used to have, so I'm single mum background. So, but we used to have this computer under the stairs, and it was an Acorn Electron. I used to have my tape recorder on the side of it. You know, when you used to think that the sound level of the tape recorder affected whether the game crashed or loaded. So it was quite a long time ago. But all my games were Chucky Egg and Yi Are Kung Fu and Donkey Kong. So things like that. So that was my first set of games. But then my first venture into motor racing was actually going to the sports center where we had an outrun machine. So, and that was my first driving experience, which was outrun. And and I used to spend quite a lot of my money, quite a lot of my pocket money. In fact, I had to go and get a paper round and a milk round just to support my gaming habit on outrun. But that was my pathway from Acorn Electron through to outrun.
Well, through to Saltwater Games and virtual extended reality. I shouldn't say anything because it might cause you to go out and buy one, but you can now go and buy one of those one-up arcade machines that has Outrun in it. So you could have the actual experience again if you wanted to. So what's the inspiration? So go on.
In the Sydney office, we have one of those in the Sydney office.
Well, you got one already. There you go.
I used to have. So I was into Colin McRae Rally. In one of the best ways, and one of the things that they used to do, and this might be something that comes up for us as well, but one of my favorite parts of Colin McRae Rally was once a month they used to release a new circuit and a race time, so you could get onto the leaderboard and you get global recognition and all this kind of thing from a time. And my favorite moment was getting into the top 50. Now you can imagine how many thousands and tens of thousands and I can't remember how many players were on that platform, but I was over the moon about that. So, and I used to invite all my mates around, but I had the full rig, force feedback, steering wheel, and that was, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a long time ago. So, but that was one of my favorite aspects of racing. So it was that competition and the involvement of that. So, and getting the full rig. And I love the fact that we're back there again. I'm actually in Singapore now at WeWork, and not far just outside this office is a full setup from S3 with multiple gaming rigs, which I'm waiting for them to switch on. So
very cool. So what was the inspiration behind the name Saltwater? You mentioned you used it for Saltwater Ventures and then Saltwater Games. But what's the story behind that?
So it's probably a little bit deep, but saltwater is inherent and it gave birth to us. Gave birth to humanity. That's where we pretty much came from. So whenever we want to heal our body, saline solution goes in through the IV, although not quite salt water, but it is saline. So it has an element of salt in it. So for me, saltwater is part of where we came from. On top of that, I love the water and the sea and sailing. So, and the calmness of it, the calmness and a little bit of the chaos now and again. So that was the inspiration behind that name in the first place. And then the logo that you see, which is the 3 waves, you'll notice that the 3rd wave is the biggest. That's from a nautical, obviously have the wake at the back of the boat. Some people notice, some people don't, but the 3rd wake is always the biggest.
Right.
So, and that's where we are. And inadvertently, we're at Web3.
Which is like the 3rd wave of the web.
Yeah, the 3rd wave, and it's going to take a while for this one to really sort of. I mean, companies have to change their business models, or they have to be born into a new business model for that to become dominant. So, and we are still super early in it. So, it's a long way to go with Web3.
So, my second last question, it's simply to ask if you could please share some of the best advice you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
Oh, yeah, this is a hard one as well because I was thinking about because obviously I got this question a little bit of prep yesterday, and I think the best advice I ever got was get comfortable being in the fire because starting a business and building a business is all encompassing. You are it's with you day and night when you're starting a business. So, but there's also a lot of joy in that. So, and I love what happens in the brain by being in the fire. So, and how you evolve and you grow and you learn through that experience of the heat of
Yeah.
starting a business. So, yeah. And of course, the other piece of this is you've got two ears and one mouth. So, and right now in a Web3 community and it's something and a business model that's driven by community, you have to listen more than you speak. So that's my other bit. There you go, two bits. Fire.
Thank you. Well, I always do ask if you can share some of the best advice because I used to ask about the best advice and somebody said, "Oh, can I mention a couple?" I was like, "Yes." So I modify my question to be open-ended. You can share as much or as little as you like, but thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. So what's your final message to iTWire viewers and readers and to your current and future customers, gamers and partners?
As you get to know us and you get to know what we're trying to do with Play to Impact, you'll see that this needs to exist. This method of engagement, reward, and real world benefit and positive benefit needs to exist. So help us, join us. We're here, and we have two ears and one mouth. So that's my ask.
Well, Len Findlay, CEO and founder of Saltwater Games and businessman extraordinaire, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about this new Web3 gaming metaverse and the different games you are creating. I look forward to tracking the progress. I look forward to being part of the public beta when it's available. And I do hope we can talk again in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alex. Cheers for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.